Have you ever felt that your mind is everywhere except where you actually are? That strange pull of regret dragging you into the past, or that restless anxiety pushing you into the future? We spend so much of our lives chasing after what has already slipped through our fingers, or fearing what might never arrive. And in doing so, we miss the only moment that truly exists, the present one. This idea, simple yet profound, lies at the very core of many timeless teachings. Living in the present moment is not just a poetic phrase. It is the key to peace, clarity, and freedom. And perhaps, without realizing it, you've experienced glimpses of this truth already. Maybe in those rare seconds of stillness when everything felt complete, or in fleeting moments when the weight of yesterday and tomorrow seemed to vanish. Has this ever happened to you? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. You see, when we look back too much, we often find ourselves trapped in sadness or regret, replaying events that cannot be changed. When we rush too far ahead, our hearts beat faster with worry, imagining scenarios that may never come to pass. Yet right here, right now, in this breath you are taking, peace is available. What you're about to discover might surprise you. Serenity does not arrive with more achievements or possessions. It reveals itself when we stop running away from the present. Stay with me until the end, because the path we're about to explore has the power to shift how you see your entire life. And there's another truth closely tied to this one, the desire to possess, to cling, to hold on tightly. We often believe that freedom comes when we finally own more, when we secure the next thing that promises happiness. But reality proves the opposite. The more we attach ourselves to things, or even to people, the heavier we become, the more fragile our sense of peace grows. Letting go does not mean losing. It means making space. True freedom begins when we release the desperate need to control and possess. Imagine the relief of loosening your grip, of trusting that you are enough without constantly holding on. Isn't it striking how the tighter we try to hold, the more everything seems to slip away? Perhaps you've noticed it in your own life. You buy something new, and for a moment, joy sparks. But soon that joy fades, replaced by the hunger for the next purchase, the next experience, the next validation. The cycle never ends until we break it, until we discover that what we truly seek cannot be owned, it can only be lived. This is where presence and release come together like two sides of the same coin. To live in the present moment, you must release the need to possess. To release, you must anchor yourself here and now. Together, they weave the foundation of a life that feels lighter, calmer, and infinitely more authentic. So as we journey deeper into these teachings, I invite you to pause for a moment. Notice your breath, the simple rhythm of life flowing through you. Notice the space around you, the sounds, the sensations. Nothing more is required right now. Just you, here, listening, present. Has it ever crossed your mind that everything you are searching for might already exist in this very instant? That the peace you long for is not out there, but here, quietly waiting for you to notice? Stay with me, because we're only at the surface. What lies ahead will unfold even more powerful truths that challenge how we think about happiness, success, and freedom. The journey is just beginning, and the next step may change the way you see your entire life. If this resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next insights we'll uncover together. Think about water for a moment. At first glance, it seems weak, almost fragile, slipping easily through our fingers. Yet, over centuries, it carves valleys, shapes mountains, and even wears down the hardest stone. This is the hidden truth behind softness overcoming hardness. Real power doesn't need to shout, dominate, or force. True strength often appears quiet, patient, and flexible because it adapts instead of resisting. The strongest trees bend with the wind. The most resilient people allow life to flow rather than trying to control every detail. And maybe you've seen this in your own journey. Those who act with calm confidence often outlast the ones who rely only on aggression or brute force. Softness is not weakness. It is transformation in motion, strength hidden behind patience, and the mindset that creates results where violence and rigidity fail. But there is something else that often unsettles us when we step into this kind of awareness: words that cut through illusion. True words are not always pleasant because they reveal what we try to hide from ourselves. They don't flatter. They don't protect our pride. They open the curtain and show what's really behind the scenes. And when that happens, it can feel uncomfortable, even painful. Yet discomfort has an impact. It forces us to confront reality. Wisdom rarely whispers what we want to hear. It speaks what we need to hear. It challenges us, shakes us, sometimes even breaks us open so that something new can emerge. Have you noticed how the most transformative revelations in life rarely come wrapped in sweetness? They arrive with sharpness, but that sharpness is precisely what sets us free. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we begin to embrace truth, even if it stings, we also discover something liberating. We no longer need to live for the applause of others. Imagine how heavy life feels when every step you take is measured by whether people approve or not. It's like walking with chains, waiting for praise to define your value. Living for the approval of others turns you into a prisoner of opinions that shift like the wind. One day they applaud, the next they criticize. If your peace depends on that unstable rhythm, you'll never truly be free. But when you release the need for constant validation, something changes in your mindset. You start making decisions based on authenticity instead of fear. You realize that freedom is not in pleasing the crowd, but in aligning your actions with who you really are. This shift is profound. It's a revelation that impacts how you see relationships, career choices, even the smallest daily interactions. Because once you're no longer bound to perform for approval, you stop wasting energy trying to control how others perceive you. You step out of the endless performance and into genuine living. And there's incredible clarity in that space, the kind of clarity that allows you to see what truly matters and what was only illusion all along. Every transformation begins here: softness teaching strength, truth tearing away the comfortable lies, and freedom found in no longer being defined by external applause. It's not always an easy journey, but it is a powerful one that shapes character and builds resilience far beyond appearances. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me," if you've ever felt the weight of these truths pressing against your own life. Nature has always been a silent teacher, showing us lessons that we often overlook. Think about the way a seed becomes a tree. It doesn't rush. It doesn't force its growth. It simply follows its rhythm, day after day, season after season. Water, too, is a perfect example. It may appear soft, without power, yet over time it sculpts valleys, smooths stone, and shapes entire landscapes. Patience, in its quiet persistence, achieves what brute effort never could. And yet, in our fast-moving world, patience feels like a forgotten art. We want instant results, immediate transformation, quick revelations. But life doesn't unfold according to the urgency of our desires. Its impact is built behind the scenes through a process that requires trust in timing and a mindset that accepts that what is meant to grow will grow. Sometimes the most important decisions are not about doing more, but about waiting, allowing, and letting things find their natural course. This hidden truth often unsettles us because patience feels like inaction, when in reality, it is the deepest form of confidence. It is the journey of believing that the seed will become a tree. Without constant interference, that water will find its way even if blocked. And when we begin to align with that rhythm, we discover that rushing only leads to anxiety, while patience aligns us with the flow of life itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because patience on its own is only half of the revelation. Knowledge, without practice, becomes little more than stored potential. We live in a time where access to information is greater than ever, but wisdom is not in knowing more facts. It is in embodying them. Reading about peace is not the same as choosing peace in the middle of conflict. Understanding that forgiveness is powerful is not the same as practicing it when your pride is wounded. This is where transformation happens, not in the gathering of theories, but in the small, often invisible choices we make daily. Knowledge is like treasure, but unless we unlock it through action, it remains buried without impact. Have you ever noticed how people can speak endlessly about what should be done, but struggle to live it themselves? That's the difference between theory and practice. The real power is not in how much you know, but in what you do with what you know. Each decision becomes the key that turns wisdom into reality. Behind the scenes of every meaningful life, there is not just learning, but consistent application. And while it may not always be easy, it is practice that carves character, just as water carves stone. This leads us naturally into the quiet power of silence. Silence, unlike words, doesn't try to impress or convince. It holds space, it observes, and it allows truth to surface without force. Those who truly know do not need to announce it loudly. Their presence communicates what their words do not. Empty talk often betrays insecurity, while silence reflects depth. In silence we find clarity, and in clarity we uncover hidden truths that endless talking only distracts us from. Have you ever realized how much louder silence can be than noise? It's in the stillness that revelations appear, that the mind settles, and that wisdom speaks. There's a certain impact in learning to pause before responding, in listening more than speaking, in choosing not to prove a point, but to understand. Silence is not the absence of expression. It is the presence of awareness. It holds the power to transform conversations, relationships, and even our inner journey. By practicing silence, we begin to realize that many of life's answers are already within us, waiting patiently to be heard once the noise subsides. Write in the comments, "I value patience," if these reflections resonate with you. Conquering yourself is perhaps the greatest battle you will ever face. It doesn't happen on a battlefield, and it doesn't come with trophies or applause. It happens quietly in the choices you make each day, in the moments when no one is watching. Self-mastery requires more courage than overcoming any external enemy, because the real fight is against impulses, fears, doubts, and old habits that resist transformation. The hidden truth is that many people spend their lives trying to control others, yet remain prisoners of their own emotions. Anger, jealousy, pride, and insecurity become silent rulers, shaping their mindset from behind the scenes. To conquer yourself means to recognize these forces and choose not to be ruled by them. It means shifting from reaction to decision, from impulse to awareness. And though this journey can feel demanding, the impact it brings is incomparable. For when you rule yourself, nothing outside has true power over you. This inner strength becomes even more important when we remember how fleeting life is. Time does not pause, no matter how much we wish it would. We live as if there will always be another chance, another tomorrow, until something shakes us awake. Life is precious precisely because it cannot be repeated. We have two lives, and the second begins the moment we realize we only have one. That revelation transforms everything. Suddenly, small worries seem less important, and opportunities we once delayed take on urgency. It's like a curtain lifting, showing us that the performance we thought was practice has been the real show all along. And when that truth settles in, we start to live differently. Our decisions carry more weight, not because of fear, but because of awareness. Each moment becomes part of a journey we cannot retrace, a story being written in real time. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way we live this short life is shaped not only by time, but also by where we place our attention. Too often, we spend more energy criticizing the flaws of others than tending to our own growth. It's easier to point out the cracks in someone else's foundation than to repair our own walls. But every time we focus outward with judgment, we rob ourselves of the chance to evolve. Neglecting our own development while obsessing over others is like watering a neighbor's garden while ours dries out and withers. The truth is that transformation requires turning inward, confronting our weaknesses, and being brave enough to do the work of change. When you redirect that energy toward your own journey, the results are powerful. Instead of losing time in comparison or criticism, you begin to cultivate qualities that bring peace, resilience, and clarity. Self-growth doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. It means understanding that life's value lies not in how others see you, but in how deeply you align with your own truth. And when you focus on your growth, the way you see others changes as well. Compassion replaces judgment, understanding softens criticism, and peace emerges where conflict once lived. This is the hidden impact of shifting the lens inward. Your relationships improve, your decisions gain clarity, and your life becomes lighter because you are no longer burdened with the endless weight of trying to control what lies outside of you. Master yourself, recognize the brevity of life, and nurture your own growth, and you will begin to notice that what once seemed impossible now unfolds with surprising ease. Put down in the comments, "I'm also on this path," if you feel the call to direct more energy toward your own growth. Anger often disguises itself as strength, as if raising your voice or plotting revenge were signs of power. Yet behind the scenes, anger is a thief. It steals clarity, peace, and even health. When you nurture it, it grows like fire, consuming not only those you direct it at, but also yourself. Seeking revenge may feel like reclaiming control, but in truth, it is like digging two graves, one for your enemy and one for yourself. The hidden truth is that vengeance doesn't heal. It chains you to the very pain you're trying to escape. Transformation begins the moment you decide to let go, not because the other deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. Walking away from anger doesn't make you weak. It shows mastery over the impulses that try to rule you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once anger is released, the mind becomes fertile ground for something greater. Discipline of thought. Every action you take begins with a seed in your mind. If those seeds are filled with resentment, envy, or fear, the harvest will be suffering. But when you choose to cultivate pure thoughts, you create space for inner freedom. Thought discipline is not about suppressing or denying what comes up. It is about awareness and direction. Imagine your mind as a river. You cannot stop its current, but you can guide its flow. When your mindset is aligned with clarity, gratitude, and calm decisions, your life follows that current. The impact is profound. You begin to act with intention instead of reaction. And that shift alone changes the entire journey of your life. The greatest revelations often come when we realize that freedom is not only external but internal. You can be surrounded by abundance, yet if your thoughts are polluted, you remain trapped. On the other hand, someone with little material wealth but disciplined thoughts can live with extraordinary peace. This is the power of transforming the unseen world within to change the visible world without. Each thought you allow has a hidden impact. It shapes your words, your relationships, your choices. The real question is, who are you allowing to shape your inner landscape, you or your unchecked emotions? And this leads naturally to another truth we often resist. Criticism is not an enemy, it is a gift. Flattery may feel sweet in the moment, but it does nothing to help us grow. Empty praise only feeds the ego, while true progress comes from seeing our blind spots. Those who point out our flaws often give us the exact mirror we need to correct our path. It may sting, it may bruise our pride, but behind that discomfort is the opportunity for transformation. To see criticism as a blessing requires a mindset shift, one that values growth over comfort. When you begin to embrace those sharp truths instead of avoiding them, you discover that even those you call enemies can be unexpected teachers. Life has a way of sending lessons through the most unlikely messengers. Sometimes the people who oppose us the most leave the deepest impact because they push us to look within. And if we are willing to listen, even their harsh words can become revelations. Transformation does not happen in the echo of praise, but in the silence after criticism, when you decide what to do with what was revealed. Do you hide, resist, or grow? That decision defines the journey you take from that moment forward. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me," if you've ever felt how anger, thoughts, or even criticism can completely reshape your life. Transformation is one of life's most misunderstood truths. We often look at endings with fear, as if the Collapse of something familiar means loss or failure. Yet if you observe closely, every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. What the caterpillar experiences as death, the world sees as the birth of a butterfly. This is the hidden truth of transformation. What looks like destruction is often just transition. Behind the scenes of every major shift in your journey, there is a process working silently, reshaping you into something greater than before. The mindset shift comes when you begin to see endings not as punishment, but as preparation. This perspective softens the resistance to change and reveals that the impact of transformation is not just survival, but the discovery of a life you could not have imagined while clinging to what was. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because transformation is not only personal, it also extends into how we influence others. Leadership, for example, is often confused with control. Many assume that to lead means to command, to impose authority through fear or force. But history and experience show the opposite. The leaders who leave lasting impact are those who guide by example. A true leader does not need to shout commands or demand respect. Their actions speak louder than any order. People naturally follow those who embody the values they proclaim. Behind the scenes, authority without integrity crumbles, but authority anchored in authenticity inspires loyalty that cannot be forced. And if you think about it, the most memorable guides in your own life were likely those who lived their truth quietly but firmly, showing through their choices what words could never capture. This hidden truth about leadership reflects a deeper revelation. Influence is not about control, but about resonance. When your decisions, your mindset, and your actions align, they create a frequency that others naturally respond to. That kind of leadership does not fade because it is not rooted in fear. It is rooted in example. And the beauty of this is that leadership is not reserved for those in positions of power. It belongs to anyone willing to live authentically, to embody transformation, and to step into the responsibility of guiding others through presence rather than force. And yet, as much as transformation and leadership bring light, they often emerge from the darkest places, from chaos. We resist disorder, craving certainty and stability, but it is precisely in chaos that new paths are revealed. Think about the moments in your life when everything seemed to fall apart. At the time, it may have looked like failure, but looking back, you can see how those moments forced you to grow, to adapt, to make decisions that reshaped your entire journey. Chaos strips away illusions, exposing what is essential. And within that space of disorder lies opportunity, the chance to rebuild stronger, to notice what was hidden before, to create something entirely new. The hidden truth here is that chaos is not the enemy, it is the forge. It burns away what no longer serves you and prepares you for revelations that comfort could never bring. This is why transformation feels so uncomfortable, why leadership requires courage, and why chaos, though frightening, is also fertile ground. Within what looks like destruction, you can find the raw material for growth. The mindset that embraces this truth does not run from disorder, but searches within it for the thread of opportunity. Put down in the comments, "I embrace transformation," if these reflections resonate with the stage of life you're walking through now. Every great journey begins in ways so small that they often seem invisible. We dream of transformation, of life-changing revelations, of a future completely reshaped, but forget that the foundation of every monumental shift is built one step at a time. Moving mountains does not happen in a single effort. It happens through the quiet consistency of lifting small stones every day. The hidden truth is that progress rarely arrives in a dramatic moment of glory, but through the decisions we make behind the scenes when no one else is paying attention. The impact of those tiny steps is easy to underestimate, yet it is precisely their accumulation that reshapes the landscape of our lives. The mindset of patience and persistence is what transforms intention into reality, proving that it's not the size of the action that matters, but the direction of the journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because what drives those small actions forward is the quality of the thoughts that fuel them. Guarding your thoughts is not simply about thinking positively. but about understanding that every single idea you allow to settle in your mind carries the potential to shape your destiny. Thoughts are seeds. If they are planted with fear or anger, the harvest will reflect that. If they are nurtured with clarity, gratitude, and intention, they become words that carry power, words that evolve into actions, actions that solidify into habits, and habits that ultimately sculpt the character of who you are becoming. This chain is not metaphorical, it is a lived reality. Your inner world quietly writes the script of your outer life. And if you pause to look closely, you'll notice how many of your current circumstances were born from thoughts you once entertained in passing. That is the hidden revelation. Destiny is not a force imposed from outside, but one shaped by the choices you make in silence within your own mind. The discipline to protect your inner dialogue is one of the most powerful transformations you can embrace. It requires awareness, a willingness to stop feeding illusions that keep you small, and the courage to replace them with beliefs that expand your possibilities. When you master your thoughts, you discover that you no longer need to fight every external battle, because the victory has already begun internally. And this brings us to a truth that feels paradoxical at first. Excellence lies not in struggle, but in peace. The greatest victory is not found in the clash of conflict, but in dissolving the need to fight at all. True excellence doesn't come from dominating others or proving superiority. It arises from harmony, from creating outcomes where no one loses, where conflict is replaced with clarity. Think about the impact of this revelation. How many battles in life are fought, not because they are necessary, but because of pride, ego, or the inability to step back? To win without fighting means to see beyond the surface, to recognize the illusions that fuel conflict, and to find strength in restraint. It is not passivity but mastery, the kind of mastery that turns confrontation into understanding and rivalry into resolution. Behind the scenes of peace, there is immense power, because peace requires strength, patience, and self-control. Anyone can fight. Few can walk away and still emerge victorious. This is the quiet excellence life invites us to embody, to start with small steps, to guard the garden of the mind, and to realize that true victories are not won on battlefields, but in the calm certainty of knowing who you are and what cannot be shaken within you. Write in the comments, "Peace is my victory," if these words echo something you feel ready to embrace in your own journey. Loving your enemies may sound like an impossible task, almost unnatural when viewed through the lens of instinct and self-preservation. Yet this principle reveals a hidden truth about strength that goes beyond what most people are willing to face. It is easy to love those who agree with us, who mirror our values, who make life comfortable. But the true test of character comes when you are confronted by opposition, by those who challenge your patience, your dignity, or even your very sense of self. To extend love in that space does not mean condoning harm or remaining defenseless. It means refusing to let hatred dictate your mindset. When you choose compassion over bitterness, you remove the chains that bind you to resentment. It is an act of power, not weakness, because it transforms what could have been a battlefield into an opportunity for growth. In this way, your enemies become unexpected teachers, sharpening your capacity for patience, humility, and resilience. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because learning to love in this radical way requires us to accept another undeniable truth. Life itself is change. We often resist it, clinging desperately to what feels safe and familiar, even when that safety has already turned into a cage. But change is not something that asks for permission. It is the natural current of existence. The seasons shift, the body ages, relationships evolve, opportunities appear and vanish. When we fight this flow, we create unnecessary suffering, holding on to illusions of permanence that were never real to begin with. The impact of resisting change is heavy, but the freedom of embracing it is profound. Imagine the mindset shift that occurs when, instead of fearing change, you see it as part of your journey, as the very mechanism by which transformation happens. Every ending you've survived has carried you to a new beginning, and every beginning has reshaped you into who you are today. Peace arrives the moment you stop fighting what is inevitable and start flowing with it. This acceptance also transforms how we interact with others, especially when it comes to the way we offer help. There is a difference between sustaining someone's dependence and empowering them to grow. Giving can ease immediate hunger, but teaching builds resilience that lasts a lifetime. This principle echoes through every part of life, whether it is parenting, leadership, or friendship. To teach someone a skill, a mindset, or a way of navigating challenges is to give them a tool they can carry into countless unknowns. It is to plant a seed of independence that will grow long after your direct involvement has ended. Behind the scenes, this shift is crucial because it requires humility. Feeding someone daily places you in the role of rescuer, but teaching them removes your own importance and highlights theirs. True impact comes not from being needed, but from creating conditions where others can stand strong without you. The hidden truth is that when we learn to love those who oppose us, embrace the flow of inevitable change, and give in ways that cultivate independence, we not only transform others, but also ourselves. These choices redefine what power means. Power is not control, not dominance, but the ability to release ego and step into a greater vision of life. This journey asks us to see beyond immediate comfort and into the deeper revelations about what it means to live with purpose. Write in the comments, "I flow with change," if these words resonate with your own path of transformation. Victory has little to do with defeating others and everything to do with understanding yourself. The hidden truth is that most of our struggles are not against the outside world, but against the fears and illusions we carry within. Self-awareness shines a light into those hidden corners of the mind, revealing not only our strengths, but also the weaknesses we often try to avoid. When you truly know yourself, battles lose their power to intimidate, because clarity dissolves fear. You begin to see where your energy should be directed and where it is wasted. Behind the scenes of every real victory lies this quiet mastery of self, a mindset that recognizes the difference between what is essential and what is noise. To know yourself is to step into battle already halfway victorious, because the greatest uncertainty, the uncertainty within, has already been conquered. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because self-awareness not only prepares you for challenges, it sharpens your vision to see opportunities others miss. Life presents countless chances, but they are fleeting, like doors that open only for a moment before closing. The impact of seizing an opportunity is rarely just immediate. It multiplies, creating new paths and hidden possibilities that would never have existed otherwise. Waiting too long, overthinking, or fearing the unknown causes these doors to close quietly, leaving us with regret. But when you act with presence and awareness, those small decisions often become turning points in your journey. The mindset of decisiveness is not about recklessness. It is about recognizing when the moment is ripe and stepping into it with courage. Opportunities do not vanish because they are rare. They vanish because they are ignored. And once missed, they rarely return in the same form. This is why persistence becomes so essential. To keep moving forward, even when progress feels slow, is one of the most transformative disciplines you can cultivate. Progress does not demand speed. It demands consistency. The greatest journeys are not won in bursts of energy, but in steady steps that refuse to stop. It is persistence that allows opportunities to be recognized, because only those still walking the path are in position to see what lies ahead. And while society often glorifies speed and immediate results, the hidden truth is that lasting impact is built slowly, almost invisibly, behind the scenes of daily effort. What matters is not how fast you move, but that you do not stop. Persistence also reshapes your relationship with failure. Instead of seeing setbacks as signs to quit, you begin to see them as necessary parts of the journey, each one carrying a lesson, a revelation, or a hidden gift. Self-awareness shows you what to learn. Opportunities give you the space to act. And persistence ensures that even when one door closes, you are still walking toward the next one. This is how victories accumulate, not in sudden flashes of luck, but in the quiet courage of refusing to stop. Put down in the comments, I choose persistence if these reflections resonate with your own journey. Strength is often misunderstood. We are conditioned to see it in loud displays of power, in dominance, in the ability to impose will upon others. But the hidden truth is that real strength is rarely visible in its rawest form. The strongest warriors know when to appear weak because they understand that subtlety carries more impact than brute force. To balance strength with subtlety is to move like water, flowing around obstacles rather than colliding with them head-on. Behind the scenes of every great victory lies not only power, but also patience, strategy, and restraint. When you master this balance, you stop wasting energy proving yourself, and instead channel your force only where it matters most. Weakness may sometimes disguise itself as strength, but true strength never needs to prove itself. It simply is. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because this understanding naturally connects with the question of wealth. We often measure abundance in possessions, status, or achievements, but history shows that these things are fragile. They can vanish in an instant, leaving behind emptiness for those who tied their identity to them. True wealth is not accumulation, it is contentment. He who is satisfied with his lot is richer than kings, because no external loss can rob him of his peace. This is the kind of transformation that shifts an entire mindset. To look not at what is missing, but at what is already present. Gratitude has the power to turn scarcity into sufficiency, while endless desire traps even the most fortunate in chains of dissatisfaction. The hidden revelation here is that freedom is not found in having more, but in needing less. Contentment is not stagnation. It is the foundation for joy, resilience, and clarity in decisions. When you realize this, you stop chasing endlessly and start living deeply. And yet, one of the greatest obstacles to contentment is our attachment to the opinions of others. Caring too much about how you are seen is one of the most subtle forms of slavery. It shapes your choices, dictates your actions, and keeps you from walking your own authentic path. The truth is that no matter what you do, there will always be those who misunderstand, judge, or disapprove. To live for their approval is to surrender your freedom to a shifting, unreliable measure. Detaching from the weight of others' opinions doesn't mean becoming careless or arrogant. It means reclaiming the right to live according to your own values. Behind the scenes of every meaningful life is a person who has chosen authenticity over applause. This kind of decision has impact far beyond the moment. It transforms the entire journey. The balance of subtlety and strength, the discovery of contentment, and the courage to detach from external approval are not separate lessons. They weave together into a single revelation. The power to shape your life is not out there. It has always been within you. And the more you align with this truth, the less you feel pulled by illusions that once dictated your path. Write in the comments, I choose authenticity, if these words resonate with the season of life you are experiencing now. Simplicity, patience, and compassion often sound like gentle virtues, almost too quiet to hold real power in a world that praises noise, speed, and achievement. Yet the hidden truth is that these three values form the deepest foundation of a fulfilling life. Simplicity strips away the unnecessary weight we carry, revealing clarity in a world clouded by excess. Patience allows us to see beyond the urgency of the moment, teaching us that transformation unfolds not when we demand it, but when we align with its natural rhythm. And compassion, perhaps the greatest of the three, bridges the gap between ourselves and others, reminding us that behind every face lies a journey we may not understand. These treasures cannot be bought, and yet their impact reaches further than any material possession. A mindset rooted in them becomes unshakable because it draws strength from what is eternal rather than what is fleeting. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because at the center of all transformation lies love. Love is not just an emotion we feel, but a force that reshapes the way we live, the way we decide, the way we endure. To be deeply loved gives us a strength that nothing else can provide, a certainty that we are not alone in our journey. But to deeply love another demands even more. It requires courage. Courage to be vulnerable, courage to extend yourself without guarantees, courage to give without keeping score. Love, in its purest form, is both shield and fire. It protects and it challenges. It nurtures and it transforms. And it is in this paradox that its greatest revelations are found. Love is not weakness. It is the energy that moves entire lives, that softens hardened hearts, that inspires decisions capable of altering generations. But even love, in all its power, cannot flourish without a foundation of well-being. Health and peace are the true riches, because without them, even the greatest external successes lose their meaning. A body in pain cannot fully enjoy abundance, and a mind in turmoil cannot savor what it has gained. True wealth is not measured by what fills your home, but by what fills your heart, your health, and your spirit. Contentment, trust, and harmony, these are currencies that never devalue. They cannot be stolen or spent, only cultivated and shared. Behind the scenes, these quiet riches sustain us in ways material possessions never could. They remind us that wealth lies not in accumulation, but in alignment with our bodies, our relationships, and the peace we carry within. When simplicity clears the noise, when patience teaches timing, when compassion opens our hearts, when love transforms our vision, and when health and peace anchor our days, life begins to look different. The journey stops being about chasing what lies outside and becomes a revelation of what already lives within. These are not fragile treasures. They are enduring ones, the kind that shape decisions, create impact, and carry us through chaos into clarity. Write in the comments, "I choose these treasures," if you feel that simplicity, patience, compassion, love, health, and peace are the true riches you want to build your life upon. Acting with care instead of haste is one of those principles we know in theory, but so often forget in practice. We live in a world that glorifies speed, where rushing is almost seen as a badge of honor. Yet behind the scenes, rushing is often the reason we stumble, why decisions lead to regret, and why opportunities slip through our fingers. The hidden truth is that patience is not slowness, it is precision. Acting with care means giving yourself the clarity to see the whole picture before making a choice. It is not about delaying indefinitely, but about understanding that every decision carries weight, and that weight deserves attention. When you allow yourself the space to move thoughtfully, mistakes lose their power, and success becomes a natural outcome of alignment rather than a product of chance. The impact of this mindset is profound. It transforms your journey from chaotic reaction into intentional creation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we understand the value of care over haste, we begin to see a larger truth about victory itself. The greatest victory is not one earned through endless battles, but through dissolving the very need to fight. True mastery is found in the ability to win without destruction, to break the will of conflict before it even takes shape. The greatest generals of history were not remembered simply for their strength, but for their strategy, for their ability to see beyond the immediate clash and to recognize the hidden paths that led to peace. To win without battle requires restraint, wisdom, and the courage to prioritize resolution over ego. It is not about avoiding struggle altogether, but about recognizing that the most powerful victories often leave no scars. This is transformation in its purest form, the ability to shift a confrontation into understanding, to turn opposition into alignment, to recognize that real power lies not in proving dominance, but in creating harmony. This realization naturally leads us into one of life's deepest revelations. Everything flows. Everything changes. You cannot step into the same river twice, because both the river and you have already moved on. Life is constant transformation, and resistance to that truth is the root of much suffering. When we cling too tightly to what was, we miss the current of what is. Change is not a threat, it is the very fabric of growth. Just as water carves valleys and reshapes landscapes, time and experience reshape us. The mindset that accepts this flow begins to see endings as beginnings, obstacles as transitions, and challenges as invitations to evolve. It is a hidden truth that liberates us once we embrace it. Nothing remains the same, and that is precisely what allows us to grow. Careful action, victories without battle, and the acceptance of constant change are not isolated lessons. Together, they form a way of living that replaces chaos with clarity, conflict with wisdom, and fear with trust in the unfolding journey. The impact of embodying these truths is not only personal, it ripples outward, shaping the way we lead, love, and leave our mark in the world. Write in the comments, "I flow with transformation," if these reflections align with the way you want to walk through life. Envy is one of those emotions that creeps in quietly, often disguised as comparison, until it begins to erode the very joy we've worked so hard to build. It lingers longer than happiness because it feeds on a mindset of scarcity, on the illusion that someone else's light somehow diminishes our own. The hidden truth is that envy poisons from within, not because of what others have, but because of what it makes us believe we lack. Behind the scenes, it whispers that we are not enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough, and it blinds us to the blessings already present in our journey. To release envy is not simply to wish others well, it is to reclaim your peace. When you shift your perspective to see someone else's success as proof of what is possible rather than a reminder of what you don't have, envy transforms into inspiration. This mindset change doesn't just protect your joy, it amplifies it, reminding you that abundance is not limited, and your path cannot be measured against another's. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we break free from envy, we open ourselves to a profound revelation about happiness itself. Happiness is not a final destination waiting at the end of the road. It is the path beneath your feet right now. The greatest illusion we chase is that happiness will arrive once we achieve something, once we reach a goal, once the circumstances align perfectly. But that chase only leads to exhaustion, because as soon as one milestone is reached, another appears. The hidden truth is that happiness cannot be postponed. It must be lived in the present, through the smallest moments of gratitude, connection, and awareness. Transformation happens when you realize that joy is not something to be earned in the future, but something to be recognized in the present. It is a shift of mindset, from striving to being, from chasing to noticing. And when you embrace happiness as the path itself, life stops feeling like an endless climb and begins to feel like a journey worth savoring. This understanding flows naturally into another revelation: forgiveness. The weight of anger is heavier than we often admit. When someone wrongs us, it feels natural to hold on, to protect ourselves by clinging to resentment. Yet the longer we carry it, the more it controls us. Those who anger you end up holding power over your emotions, your thoughts, even your peace. Forgiveness, then, is not about excusing harm or forgetting the past. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of bitterness. It is a conscious decision, an act of courage that says, "I will not allow your actions to dictate my inner world." Behind the scenes, forgiveness transforms not only relationships, but also the one who forgives. It dissolves the invisible chains of resentment and opens space for clarity, compassion, and new beginnings. When envy is released, happiness is embraced as a way of living, and forgiveness becomes your response to pain. You discover a freedom that no external force can grant or take away. These truths are not abstract. They are choices available in every decision, in every moment you feel tempted to compare, to postpone joy, or to cling to anger. Each time you choose differently, you shape your journey in ways that ripple outward, touching not only your own life, but also the lives around you. Write in the comments, "I choose freedom within," if these reflections resonate with your own path of transformation. Character is one of those truths that reveals itself quietly, often away from the spotlight. Reputation is loud. It is the echo of what others believe about you, shaped by stories, opinions, and judgments that may or may not hold truth. But character is what you carry when no one is watching. It is the collection of decisions you make in silence, the integrity you hold when there is nothing to gain, the honesty you live with even when it costs you something. Reputation may open doors in the short term, but it is fragile, easily broken by rumor or misunderstanding. Character, however, endures. It is the foundation on which your entire journey rests, because no matter what the world believes, you know who you are. Behind the scenes. The hidden truth is that when your character is aligned, reputation takes care of itself. And even if it falters, the impact of a strong character eventually outlasts the noise. Living from this space is not about impressing others. It is about being anchored in your own truth, unshaken by the shifting winds of perception. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because character naturally connects with another powerful revelation: responsibility. Growth begins the moment you stop blaming circumstances, other people, or fate for the direction of your life. Responsibility is not about carrying the weight of the world. It is about recognizing that your choices, your actions, and your mindset shape the path you walk. Life gains meaning when you decide to own it fully, both the triumphs and the mistakes. This shift in perspective is transformational because it moves you from being a passenger in your own story to being the one steering the course. When you take responsibility, even for the challenges you didn't choose, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for someone else to fix, save, or validate you, and you begin to see every obstacle as an opportunity to grow. The impact of responsibility is not just personal, it ripples outward. When you own your actions, trust grows. When you acknowledge your part in both success and failure, respect follows. Responsibility makes your character visible, not as a performance, but as a lived truth. And in that space, life begins to expand. You discover that freedom and responsibility are not opposites, but partners. The more you own your choices, the freer you become. It is a hidden truth that many resist, because responsibility can feel heavy. Yet in reality, it is the very thing that lightens your load. It turns mistakes into lessons, failures into stepping stones, and challenges into revelations of strength you didn't know you had. Character and responsibility together create a foundation that cannot be shaken by external forces. They are the compass and the engine of transformation, guiding you through the unpredictable flow of life with clarity and resilience. And as you walk this journey, you begin to notice that the most meaningful growth does not come from the easy moments, but from the decisions that test your courage, demand honesty, and ask you to stand fully accountable for who you are becoming. Put down in the comments, "I own my path," if these words resonate with the way you want to live and grow. If you've journeyed with me all the way here, I want to thank you for sharing this space of reflection and discovery. If the ideas we explored today added value to your life, consider subscribing to the channel so you can keep walking alongside me through more of these conversations that nurture the mind and spirit. And let me know in the comments that you made it to the very end by writing, "I'm with you until the end." It's always powerful to see how many of us are connected through these words. If this message resonated with you, a simple like on the video is more than enough to show that we're creating something meaningful together. And if you feel like going even deeper, there's a video right here that complements this topic beautifully. Click and continue with me over there.